So good morning, everybody. It was an active night. Who knows? Maybe the frequencies were going around or whatever, turned up. Who knows? Dog was active. I was even awake, posting stuff, and finally I had a dreamless sleep for at least 5 hours, so that was good. And I still haven't pooped out just so you know, pooped out the steak and the corn. But the spaghetti I pooped out from yesterday, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because that way you can understand your alimentary canal and all the different chambers. And sometimes I guess it will hold hostage certain foods that it's going to capitalize on and actually make you smarter. So when you think about meat, okay, like red meat, and when you guys have migraines or headaches, that I say, eat a steak. Eat a really rare steak because that is the amino acids, the proteins, everything that will build up your brain. It's brain food. And so maybe that's why I'm getting these revelations and these thought processes happening faster with, even though I have I would say a problem, I come up with a conclusion rather quickly. And I would have to credit food for that. That's why it's very important to get the poop out and also eat food without taking away substance and intelligence, okay? And so I made this real major connection within like half an hour because I'm like I'm on my Facebook news feed and I see somebody maybe from India is anti-New World Order. He doesn't like Klaus Schwab. And so there is a Swami or a guru that is working with Klaus Schwab. And so this Hindu Indian guy said that this guy's a false prophet. And I've seen that term false prophet before, even in the Christian religion. And I'm just like, how do we determine what is a real prophet and a false prophet? What is that? What is the quality? I don't know. What quantifies that? And I'm thinking like, okay, so, and I'm just like, okay. And so I just put that to the side for a minute. And then I'm discovering that I broke the love spell. The love spell is about dying and reproducing. Okay? And manipulation. And so when a love spell that has to do with estrogen, oxytocin, and all the things to get people to give up resources because you're dying and then you're also reproducing, people become manipulative because they're trying to gain market share or get resources from somebody else. And so the entity gets rather strategic in how they get resources from other people, not themselves, but from other people. And so then that's where religion comes from. Because religion is about locking you into a love, into a spell, where you're worshiping someone. When you have a child, you're under a love spell because of all the hormones. And so you're worshiping that child, and your children become a religion. Your husband or your wife become a religion. Anything you focus your love and your adoration to, and it could be a Hollywood celebrity that is beautiful, that has done the hormone replacement therapies and all that stuff. And so you're worshiping that political science and religious figure. And so religion has everything to do with being under a spell. Now, what is a false prophet and what is a real prophet? There is no false or real prophets. It's people of the day. Okay, so Muhammad, Christ, oh gosh, anyone in history, they were the movers and shakers of their time. They set the stage for where we are today. However, you can't, now, in the West, we're all about evolution, innovation, and change. Okay? That's the West. That's who we are. We go in and we go and convert people, and then we do evolution and innovation and change. And that's not always good because there's a lot of violence that comes out of that, like Christopher Columbus and all that. But okay, we had to apologize for all that, whatever. But some countries still want to stay with the prophets of their time. Okay? And we have people in the West that want to convert other countries, want to change their religion, want to go in and do whatever. And they're like, no, sorry, this is our culture. This is who we are. Why would you come in here and try to convert us to your religion, whether it's Christianity or Mormonism or Jehovah's Witness? That's not for a missionary to do, to go in and convert people. If a person wants to go in and change a religion, they'll go and seek out the people who represent that religion and they'll go change themselves. But if you don't introduce something, then how are they going to know? Well, now we have the opportunity of the internet. If that country is allowing new information to come in where you can now question your culture, that's great. The government has then developed that situation. They're going to have to take responsibility for that. But then you have places like North Korea, who doesn't allow anything to come in, and the only thing that comes in are people who have been highly vetted to look at their country, but you can't do anything to change that culture. And if you do, you will be tortured. North Korea I'm like, oh, that's right. North Korea is like, no, you cannot change our culture. They have their society the way it is. Okay? And then that makes sense. Hey, fine. If that government wants to be the end all be all, and okay, is it our job to go and change them and democratize them? Not necessarily. If Iran wants to still practice their prophets from years and years and years ago, great. I'm sure I haven't studied the Quran or anything. Actually, I kind of sort of in my comparative religion class in City College of San Francisco back in the early 2000s. And that's when I was doing this whole religious sabbatical, or not religious sabbatical, but just discovering like, oh, what should I choose? I don't know. And so there was a little bit of stuff that was mentioned about the Quran and all that. But I also was sort of studying stuff like the Bhagavad Gita. And then I went to, a Vietnamese temple when I was out there in San Francisco. So I did a little bit of exploring. I went to a Roman Catholic church. Of course, I was raised Jewish. I wasn't in a religious cult, but I was observing a Christian cult in Hawaii for about 6 months, but I wasn't really attached to trying to convert. I was just experiencing a different culture and then also was partying in Hawaii. Okay, I mean, those are some pretty polarized worlds, okay? Hawaii, the place where everybody goes and parties and it's a destination zone, and then you have your evangelists, your fundamentalists. And so that was kind of interesting. Met some really interesting people, okay? But now, oh my gosh, I mean, it's such an awakening when you actually break the love spell. And then you see all the different gods and demigods of our society. You see them on CNN, you see them on Fox, you see them in Hollywood, you see them in InfoWars, you see them all over Facebook, on YouTube. Whether they're self-proclaimed savior from Salt and Poo, okay, you know who I'm talking about, bless his heart, okay, or they're a lay minister. They don't like the Joel Osteens and the big organized churches, and so now they have their own following of people, and they also run a chiropractic clinic or a health and wellness type of thing. And so now we have all these different false prophets, right? So now people are confused. Do they follow this guy? Do they follow this guy? Do they follow this guy from 6,000 years ago? That's the war of the old world and the new world. And then people regurgitating the old world, bring it into the new world and saying, oh gosh, we're anti-New World Order, anti-Illuminati, anti-everything. And I have now the word of God. I have now the answer to everything. And you watch them on Facebook and you're like, wow, they really believe they are preaching the actual word of God. And in the meantime, they're like, hey, come to my clinic and I'll do a little nip and tuck and a chiropractic thing, or here, buy my products of holistic stuff. And then you see where religion becomes a business in Western society. And then you see the image of people using estrogen, hormone replacement therapy, makeup, filters, plastic surgery, Botox. Oh, and that's where the chaos comes from. Because we all been programmed. Everybody has been programmed to be under a love spell. Worshipping love and sex, and then also religion on top of that. And you're like, and then all the walls come down, because when you break the spell, it's an amazing, freeing venture. It truly is. And so so that was off the cuff. I'm going to see, oh, somebody did a friend request. I'm going to accept this person's friend request. I have people that friend request me that I haven't let on because I have no idea who they are. I have no idea their intentions, no interaction, no nothing. And so I just leave them in there. But this person was liking some stuff on my business page, found my personal page. I'm going to accept. But I don't always accept friend requests, just so you know. I mean, I could have 5,000 friends, but and I don't really do private message. Oh, Lord. Okay. They're just sending, okay. All right, that's fine. It's like an introduction to them. Okay, well, welcome to my page. All right, so let me just read this. But I don't want to be anyone's guru, just so you know. I don't want to be anyone's guru, anyone's god, whatever. So, love spells and religious wars. The power of love spells are the distractions in our society. So you don't pay attention that you have been bioengineered and you have a chance to redirect in body, mind, and spirit without turning to a guru, shaman, or any other self-appointed god or goddess. Okay? Now, this is where some of those that have self-appointed themselves to be in the holistic health and wellness, who deem themselves higher and more enlightened than somebody else, they're going to have a hard time with this once they realize where I'm coming from. Right now, I am definitely speaking something different. But remember, even the self-appointed gurus and meditation specialists and all those yogis and whatever still are under the love spell. And when you're under the love spell, it is about dying, reproducing, and collecting souls. And can you actually, when you think about it, face the pain? And when you do face the pain, can you really promote that in the world where it's all about taking the pain away? That's what people are not gonna realize when they're in those gurus and holistic religious whatever, is that their world's about taking away the pain. And Jilly Juice world, the Jilly Juice journey is about bringing on the pain and getting a different awareness. And how can you tell your flock of people, right, your followers, that now you got to face the pain, and you might have a heart attack and a stroke, and you're going to be it just racked with issues, and you're going to have to pick your poop out of your butt. You're going to have to deal with feeling bloated. Let me tell you, it's not what people think, but they will find out for themselves. I mean, there is a built-in limit. How did I say this? I'm trying to figure out the way I would say this. The JJ world is a built-in is it limitations? No. I don't know. I have to figure out how to say it, because the JJ world has a built-in bullshit meter detector. Because as soon as you can say, you might find some things that are great in my world that will pique people's interest, but when they actually get the benefit, they're going to have to feel the pain, stick their finger in their butt, pull the poop out. They're going to have to get away from all the meditation, all of the yoga stuff, everything in the medical, holistic, spiritual religion world. And if they're not willing to do that, then you're not going to get the immortality. You'll just be another creationist of a new religion with some of my information. But really the power is in the pain. So the pain is, if you get away from pain, you're not going to get it. And so there is a built-in bullshit detector within the JJ world, because everything out there is about taking away the pain. Okay? And so you are dependency on other people. Extreme dependency on other people is also the root of your suffering. Your dependency on other people, extreme dependency on other people, is also the root of your suffering. Okay? The programming that nobody loves you or you're nobody until somebody loves you, that was instilled into us when we were kids. That's the whole family. That's the whole family worship type of thing. That's the whole community, the friends, the parties, the religion, the politics, the science. Okay? And so you have religious wars in politics, you have religious wars in science, you have religious wars in religion. Okay? Everything that's about converting someone else into your belief system, whether it's from the past or something that you developed today, is a religion. Oh my God. Okay? And so when I said the program that you're nothing until one or everyone loves you is the suffering, chasing company, surrounding yourself with so many people so you're distracted from the suffering is the suffering. When my dog is doing her circles up here and I'm upstairs and I'm not watching any TV and I'm posting on my Facebook and I'm just sitting with whatever, or I'm in pain because of a virus and all the co-infections and I can't even watch TV and I can't even be on Facebook and I can't even pet my dog, I'm sitting with the suffering. I am respecting myself. I am cultivating my future self. I am now dealing with everything that I ever ran away from. That's the power. It's not just going into a sweat lodge and sweating it out. It's not taking ayahuasca and going through the B-cell memories and having that poison take a hold of you and cause, stuff because you have no idea if that stuff is helping you or hurting you. When you're in pain and you're taking all these drugs and all this other stuff, you have no idea if it's helping you or hurting you because you have no idea what this pain is about because you're under the impression that the ayahuasca and every other thing that goes on out there is helping you because you were sold that by religious prophets. Then you got to realize that food is the answer. Food, sleep, get rid of the poop, blowing your nose, going, is the answer. That's the answer. That's fucking life. That's maintaining your immune system. Everything else out there, the meditation, the yoga, and all the hot stuff, the saunas and the drugs and the alcohol and the sex, that's just distraction. That actually is harming you. Okay, the surgeries, that's all harming you. But can you tell someone that? No, because they're under the influence. Remember, many people they're drugged and they're under the love spell. I remember when I was a kid, my sister had a poster on her wall that said, "You're no bunny until some bunny loves you." So her room was all pink. She had pink bedspread, pink blinds, pink everything. So her programming was pink. Her programming was girly, pink, whatever. My room was all yellow. I had yellow blinds, yellow bedspread, yellow everything. That was our programming. That was the color programming in our world. Okay? And so you see how parents program their children. My mother said I was a child of her heart. Well, of course, yes. I was a little fucking siren as a young adult. I was gorgeous as a young girl. You saw pictures of me in the 90s. Thin, tan, doing all the rave stuff, hanging out with beautiful girls or goddesses that I see today, and they're dealing with cancer. We don't talk now because we have nothing in common. The person that I used to hang out with is so beautiful. She has like 3 kids living in the West. Okay? Or 2 kids, I don't know. And so my sister was a child of her mind. So my sister, smart-ass woman, smart-ass girl. But has her own health issues that I won't go into too much depth. And so you see how some parents back in the 80s program their kids. And then I look at my high school class. I have a high school class, she's like maybe 1 grade higher than me. She's a CNN International correspondent. She's out of Hong Kong. Her dad was Chinese or something. Her mom was white. That was the merging of the China and the West together. Now she's on CNN. She's married to a Chinese lawyer. Her name is Christy Lou Stout. She's freaking gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Google her. Christy Lou Stout. Kristielu and an Stout. And I went to school with her. Silicon Valley is full of bioengineered gods and demigods. Gorgeous people. And some were, dealing with their own stuff or whatever. And so then I come to Ohio. It's really different. Really different. Okay? And so each part of the world in America has been programmed for the economy, of course, for that specific area, and programmed to influence you into doing whatever. The people here in Ohio are following people in Silicon Valley over the fucking cliff. Following all their medical protocols, following all the Botox, following all the workout stuff, the religion. Tammy Faye Baker, Jim Baker, right? Remember those people back in the 80s? And so underneath the inscription, there was a cute little rabbit with a carrot. If that isn't the love, sex, reproduction, death programming that you're nobody until everybody loves you and worships you because you don't love, respect yourself, you're strictly for other people's entertainment. And wives think that way. Husbands think that way. They have their children think that way, that they're not really sentient beings. They're programmed to be somebody else's whatever. I'm sure I was, since they didn't figure out that I wasn't going to take to the intellectual side of it, they had to program me to be a siren so that way I had a way to survive. All I had to do was go find a man, right? Through sex or flirtation. But, and yeah, it did help me to figure out how to land Jason on some level, but then I evolved that. I didn't just stay with that and then turn that into a self-destructive, type of situation. No, I evolved my situation to make whatever I came from better. Okay? So that's why women right now are surviving on their bodies and sex, because that's how they were programmed to survive in this world. And then the predators of our society who are really obsessive then take it to the nth degree. And so that's why we have rape. That's why we have sexual battery. That's why we have domestic violence. That's why we have so many problems in these relationships. And so now, marriage ends up in death or divorce. And so then you have to realize that marriage really is a business contract with someone you respect. In the JJ world, yes. In the JJ journey, marriage is a business contract. And then you carefully love that person so you don't destroy them if that's where it needs to go. And so that's why women are in such trouble, as well as men, because they're using love, sex, and worship and religion as their platform. And when you're using love, sex, and religion as a platform in Western society, you will inevitably fall apart because you're giving away your life force to somebody, and then your body's breaking down. Cognitively, you're losing it. And what do you have to offer when you're bedridden? That's where all the divorce rates of men divorcing women who have been diagnosed, and vice versa. It happens on both sides. And when people break down, that's when the whole relationship and their world just explode, self-implode. Some people stay with each other, okay, others don't, it just depends. And so when you're loved that much as a child, you are being destroyed by the programming, by your own parents. Okay? And the parents don't even know it. Neither do the children, of course. And when they do realize it, sometimes it's too late. Excuse me, sorry, I could be going, but I'm not going to do that. Okay? So I'll just swallow it and I'll get it out later, I guess. Literally, people do not know how else to be. And that's the scary thing in our society, is that people are living from that. And that's why I said faith, family, and football is the trinity of suffering in different parts of our society. Actually, in all parts of our society, because there's faith in all parts of our society. There's family and there is football. But here in Ohio, football is like the thing to do. Football is everything in these different towns here. I didn't realize football was such a religion over here. Hall of Fame. There's a Hall of Fame, museum, a Hall of Fame. Okay, that ought to clue me in that I'm in a town, that worships football. So that's why we're in a great reset. Western society is collapsing because of the innovation, love, sex, reproduction, and death programming, worshiping status and bioengineering. And so, yeah, when you see those guys on Bravo, and they could be straight or LGBTQ, they're under heavy amounts of hormone replacement therapy. That's why the gay men are so beautiful. You can have a gay man who is so gorgeous, and you're like, oh my God, that is like a god. And so he's a man like it physically, but his features are softened. Okay, skin is smooth, and then their partner is like the manly man, the Marlboro man, which they have the chiseled features and the real, the kind of like the rough look, right? The rough and tumble, but still gorgeous. And you're just like, that's where the Greek gods came from. Hormone replacement therapy, playing with the humors, bioengineering, and then demigod, God worship. And again, Silicon Valley is full of bioengineered babies. I remember in my other high school class, when I went to another high school, I went to like 3 different high schools, okay, or whatever. And one popular guy was the son of a general. Why I say was because he died when he was in training. But he was a son of a right wing. He was a son of a general, of somebody in the right wing like George Bush. And that guy was gorgeous. And that's when I was in the conspiracy book going like, oh, he was sacrificed so Di can get ahead. I'm like, no, that was just whatever. But that's what I'm saying. Silicon Valley is full of beautiful bioengineered people. And they are the movers and shakers. They are in the tech industry, developing applications. They are managing partners of huge commercial industries. They are journalists that are reporting on the 1999 train wreck of Woodstock. There's people in my high school class that knew that journalist that was on there that was telling the story. Okay? A lot of people in Silicon Valley are movers and shakers, and they've been bioengineered to do that. And so now you realize, why am I talking about this? Because I'm leveling the playing field. Hence the World Economic Forum. When you level the playing field, it means that you have actually an opportunity. If you weren't given those gifts right out the get-go, out of the gate, then you can develop those gifts, but you have to face the curses that were given to you. And so someone who has it easy, right? Someone who is gifted and beautiful and has the gift of speech and intelligence and music and all of that, okay, they were given that. But then for them to live indefinitely, they have to face the pain of looking ugly. They have to face the pain of a lot of things that are lurking in their genetics. And if they are banking on staying beautiful and perfectly well poised and all of that stuff, they won't really be ugly for a minute. Will they really actually be ugly for a minute? And so if someone is that worried about their image, they might do what I'm saying and deal with stuff, and I don't know what they do. And then maybe 20, 40 years later, or 20 years later or whatever, they come back and say, okay, well, I don't even know how to say that because I don't know what. So maybe 100 years later, they still look relatively youthful. I'm like, okay, well then you got the J juice. You understand the JJ journey. Okay? And so, but some people are in marriages. They're in relationships where the other person does not want them to change. And so they're not really going to change. I mean, and so they might last another 40 years. Maybe the J juice bought them some time, but they still haven't dealt with their predisposed issues because they couldn't be down. They couldn't look ugly for a minute. They couldn't, because maybe their partner wanted them to look sexy all the time. And when you want to look sexy all the time, you can't be bloated and feeling all this yucky. And so you never know what goes on in people's relationships. So then if you're not putting out the authentic image and the authentic journey, then it's going to go one of two ways. The person will go down the ugly road, right? Because you can't stop Mother Nature if you haven't faced her, and then you pass away, or down the road their partner dies, and then they finally come out and emerge from their cocoon and say, okay, the reason why I didn't say anything, okay, the reason why I haven't said anything is because I was under the spell of my husband or wife who passed away. And now I am breaking free, and now I have the freedom to just look bad, to be bad, whatever. And I have my life insurance money to carry me through until I get myself to a certain point. And that's kind of how things are going to happen in the JJ world with some of my people. Or, yeah, it's going to have to. All right? And so the beautiful ones are going to have a harder time than the ones that already came out of the gate already in deficit. There is something special within those that haven't been given the gift right out of the gate. You don't know what that is, but you're going to develop it. Now you have to develop yourself, and you have every resource available to you. Every resource. And now it's just going through the process. And it's a slow process. You saw what I went through for 6 years. So you know you're in it for at least 6 years, if not more. And I don't have as many predisposed issues as other people, but I don't know, maybe it's just, let me tell you, pneumonia, mycoplasma is in all diseases. How bad it affects you, well, I didn't have heart issues. I had low blood pressure. I didn't have high blood pressure. So, so I didn't have half as many of the issues that a lot of people have out there. Okay? I mean, I was still relatively young when I started the JJ world. And so I really, so I had an easier platform than some. Sugar, you're going to bump your head. Hold on, Sugar. Here. All right. She's trying to eat her bones, and then you know how dogs they go thing and they just toss her head up while she's under a table, and she tosses her head up, she bonks herself, and I'm just like, oh my God. All right. So, Western society is collapsing because of the innovation, love, sex, reproduction, and death programming, worshiping status, bioengineering. The powers that be will do the best they can to soften the blow. And they are. I mean, we have hospital systems. We have doctors and nurses that do everything they can to soften the blow, soften the pain, take away your pain. You have all your different demigods and gods in the health and wellness industry to take away your pain, okay? And so that way, on your way out the door is not going to be so catastrophic what you think. And okay, they're right, whatever, I get it, but I don't want them in my world. Because I don't want anyone in my world taking away anyone's pain. It's not for them to do. I don't want them contributing anything in my world because they don't get that you have to feel the pain. They're all about taking away the pain. Okay? With predisposed issues. But I have to acknowledge that that's what they're being used for. And they have to acknowledge that that's what they're being used for. They're being used as a tool for the New World Order trying to now soften the blow and take away those who are immunocompromised and make their world on their way out the door relatively okay. I get it. I don't love it. We really can't mix. It's like oil and water. It won't mix. Diametrically opposed. And so the powers that be will do the best they can to soften the blow. And they also strategically implemented the death programming, and some of us will survive. Others will be lost in the programming and wonder why their children are in and out of the hospital. And they won't know. They'll just keep praying about it and wringing their hands. How many mothers out there you see are saying, oh my God, my kid's in the hospital, and they're wringing their hands, and they're saying, I'm going to pray over them, and they're in the religious world. They're all about love, 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 of course, sex, so they have a bunch of children. And religion. That's how the religious folk are going to be sacrificed because they're under the spell. So when your worth is predicated upon how many people love you, then you cease to love and respect yourself because you don't have to. Everybody else does. Because if you really loved and respected yourself, you would reproduce new cells. You wouldn't be worshiping the death programming. And you wouldn't be harming yourself with all the different distractions. And you wouldn't be starving yourself. You wouldn't be on drugs, alcohol, vast amounts of sex. You'd be feeling the pain. You'd be staying home more than not because you know so many people out there are unhinged at the surface. You don't know what you're going to get out there. And so if everybody loves you, then you don't have to take any responsibility for taking care of yourself because everybody else is taking care of you until they can't anymore. And then you're alone, or maybe you're dying and everyone's around you, then cannibalizing you even more, and then you're dead. Okay. Now you're a legacy. And then you self-destruct. Your actual circles of people are cannibalizing you. You literally disrespected yourself your whole life. Why do you think Hollywood stars self-implode at the end of their career? The fans ate them alive. The stars never loved or respected themselves. They were for everybody else's entertainment. And so when they're in their room in the darkness of night, they never cultivated their own self-respect. At night is when you really need to reflect back on the day. Reflect and then allow your body to go through the process. I didn't have to blow my nose last night. Okay? I didn't have to blow my nose. So sometimes the night is where you have to blow your nose. You have mucus because of the day before, because of predisposed issues. And sometimes overnight, you don't have to do anything like that. And so the night is when your body goes through the reparations, the self-reflection. Some people don't get enough sleep, so they have no time to repair and no time to self-reflect. But that's their hormones right now. That's what's so crazy. There are some people that hardly ever sleep 4 hours in 2 days. And they're not on any drugs that I know of. That's their hormones. They are the Energizer Bunny. And so then they're putting their mind to their job and to their hobbies and that's what they're doing and that's how they're channeling that energy. But at some point, they're going to be seeing the darkness because how much energy, how much resources are you going to use over that many times when you're not repairing and self-reflecting? And so they self-implode by trying to stay relevant. People love watching a train wreck until it happens to them. Some people think that I'm a train wreck. Sorry, but evolution is not fun. It's not pretty. It's not poised. It's not hormone replacement therapy. Evolution is downright ugly and messy and full of war. Shit, last 6 years I was going through an evolution. You saw what kind of wars I was in. And I chose to be out there because I had something to say and I needed to defend it and justify it. And it took a while for me to do that. Because I had to release a lot of hormone programming and other programming. And I had to go through the pain. And thank gosh for the COVID. The COVID saved my ass. If I hadn't gone through that pain of my predisposed issues, you think I would have the kind of information I have right now? Absolutely not. Some of you have not gotten that gift of the COVID waking up the beast. And so you have no idea what I'm talking about. You think that you dealing with the COVID is your awakening, your pain. No, you have nothing new to say. Nothing. That ought to tell you that you haven't actually broken the spell because you have nothing new to offer and your image is way more important than you evolving yourself. And so then you go back to what you know, your husband, your wife, your job, your associations. That's how easy it is to get back into the mainstream society is when you haven't dealt with the pain. But how do I do it? That's what I'm saying. It's going to be, you can't force it. J-Juice was a catalyst in the beginning. It was a catalyst for me. Then I cured myself, became really fucking skinny, and then played the game of picking out the pretty people on my Facebook and in the JJ world and saying, this is the Jilly Juice girl. And so my evolution, my actual breaking of the spell happened just recently. It didn't happen a couple years ago. That was just the beginning. But if you have a lot more predisposed issues, you might not get that actual breaking the spell, maybe not till 10 years later. And so right now, maybe it's best that you just deal with whatever comes up. You don't try to stop the pain and well, I don't know. People's situations are so different. And maybe they have to be relatively cured so they can keep their marriage intact, so they can keep their job. Will they survive that putting off the evolution? If they could have gotten that gift of of facing those demons, I don't know. I don't know what people do in their private lives, and it's none of my business. But how do I know when someone has really, really faced their demons? Let me tell you, they will be on Facebook in my world. If they've been part of my world for a while, they will have something to say. The reason why they don't, they're still in the fear, and they haven't had that revelation or that innovation, and they haven't faced that demon, their childhood demon, and they're still worried about looking pretty. Okay? So that's why this is now the world for the ugly, for the ones that have been ignored, the ones that have been cast aside and not looked at as relevant or any. No, this is for the people who are now starting from scratch. Let me tell you, you saw me a couple years ago. I looked ugly. I was bloated. My mom, when she saw me back in 2016, and my dad, they were like, wow, I look like I had a monster brewing inside of me. This was before the J-Juice world. This is before I lost a bunch of weight. But then I had to gain that weight back and go through the ugly stage yet again. Okay? Why do you call it the ugly stage, Jillian? Everyone's beautiful. It's called symmetry. It's called balance. It's called glowing. It's called clear skin. It's called a balanced thought process. It's called tolerance. It's called productivity. You will get that symmetry. You will get that productivity, the thought process, the intellect, all of that. But you have to also do the work. You have to feed your brain, to feel the pain, feel the brain, feed the brain, all that stuff. Then you have to question. This is the key thing, questioning your politics, your religion, your scientific dogmas. And if you are heavily religious with predisposed issues, or you're so beautiful and you have an image to maintain, oh gosh, yeah, that's going to be difficult. I already see the difficulties in what people have to face. I sympathize. I know people want this, but their world is limiting. And it's okay. They've chosen that. When we choose husbands and wives and jobs and situations, we have to now face that music. And if we want to change, then we're going to have to give up all those things. And that's hard to do, to give up your associations, your social capital, everything that you've depended upon your whole fucking life. Oh, I understand the difficulty around that. You saw what I had to go through dealing with me just finally being autonomous and not being subject to going to someone's house or party or whatever every single weekend. That's not me to go out there every single weekend and go and give my time to somebody else and worship somebody else's situation. I don't want people coming to my house every single weekend and worshiping my situation and worshiping whatever. No. I'm working on stuff. I want to kind of right now disappear from the public, disappear from people at this point, because I'm working on stuff. So leveling the playing field, so you understand why we have the gods and goddesses in Hollywood, in politics, religion, and science. So we have been severely bioengineered. Like I said, Silicon Valley is full of bioengineered people. Okay? They are the gods and demigods. They have not only the hormone replacement therapy, but the genetics, and you can buy designer babies. Okay? And they will last a certain they have a certain lifespan. Just like, when you buy electronics, they have a certain lifespan. Some will last a lot longer. The older versions, I guess, have lasted a lot longer than some of the newer versions. That's no different with people. You bioengineer people and then program them and teach them about technology or journalism or speaking and debating. Yeah, they'll be amazing. And then when you don't have those kind of skills, because you have no access to them, because you never were told how to have access to them, then you worship them or feel bad about yourself. And then people go off the deep end because they're like, I'm stuck. I have no access to that kind of power. And they think, oh, they're a gift from God. Jesus was amazing in his time. Muhammad, amazing in his time. Einstein, amazing in his time. Martin Luther King, amazing in his time. They were martyrized and then used as a tool, as an exploitative tool for disciples. Okay, that's fine. In the West, it's turned into money, not actual bettering of society. It's turned into money, but maybe bettering. I don't know. It all depends on what you want, what you expect, whatever. I don't know. Some people want to have all the riches and all the big cars and the endless gas guzzling stuff and the endless consumption. And then you realize that Mother Earth can't handle that. And so you have to change. And so then the platform changes and things change and people get mad and they create a religion against it. Some societies, let's say Iran, or maybe North Korea, I don't know, but maybe not, I don't know. Their society, the way it is, it works. Yes, there is suffering. Why is it that North Korea has a split between the haves and the have-nots? Well, maybe it's biological. You can't stop reproduction, right? Because if you're all about bioengineering and using remedies and all that stuff, you're always going to have people procreating, and not everybody's going to have all the desirable characteristics to then help their country, and so then they're stuck as an undesirable. All right, their genetics determine their desirability, and so that's why you have such a split between the rich and the poor, right? Or the haves and the have-nots. Because obviously there was genetics that were desirable that caused them people to have, money in North Korea and China too. Same thing. I was in Guangzhou and Hong Kong and Beijing and I didn't go to the tech centers like, I don't know, Shanghai or wherever. But I mean, that's why we have the different classes in our societies, because of genetics and access to resources. And that's going to happen in Africa too. There's going to be people that are going to be genetically desirable because their access to resources and bioengineering and their access to education. And there are going to be those that are going to be struggling to get there. They still got issues. They don't know how to develop themselves because they weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, literally and figuratively. And so now the whole JJ world is saying that you don't have to worship somebody else. You can actually be a mover and shaker, that you can be an intelligent, symmetrical, productive member of our society, but it takes work and it's painful. You can't just buy it. You can't bottle it. It's developed. So we all been severely bioengineered, and we have no idea what is the diamond, the treasure under all the programming that also glitched as soon as we came into this world. Okay? If my parents hadn't programmed me to be a beautiful siren, I probably would have died from autism. If I had that, they thought I had autism. I probably would have died from pneumonia. So I have to kind of give them a little credit, but it's still a suffering. But we all suffer because we're all programmed. We're all suffering from iniquities. We're all suffering from predisposed issues. But we were given a chance. Now we have a chance to redirect. We don't have to stay stuck in the old ways of doing stuff. And so when it comes to religion, religions change. But what are they changing into and why? When you create a religion against a religion, then you're just repeating the same thing. And so that's the issue with the whole false prophets and whatever. So you're trying to stay cured. Oh, here we go. So when you get, here we go. So when you get side effects from hormone replacement therapy and or drugs, vectors, or any other those medical, holistic stuff, you really have no idea if it's helping you or hurting you. When you think about it, it's really hurting you, but you can't say that to somebody because it's all FDA approved, right? So you're trying to stay cured and program your hormones to manifest a very specific projected image, because psychologically what you feel and what you look like are not aligned in the mind and the context of your society. And so, yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that when you get hormone replacement therapy, okay, that softens everything, but it also has side effects that are actually harming you. But then you are also desperately trying to stay cured and program your hormones to manifest a very specific projected image, like beautiful features, like godly features, like you see on the Bravo channel with the beautiful LGBTQ. The gay men are gorgeous, okay? Gorgeous. You're just like, holy crap, that's like a fine, but that's bioengineered, okay? And so you're trying to stay cured and program your hormones to manifest a very specific projected image, because psychologically what you feel and what you look like are not aligned in the mind, aligned to the mind in the context of your society. And so that's why there's like the gender dysphoria. Okay. So what does he say? To avoid excess risk, this is for those that are trying to feminize themselves. The goal is to maintain hormone levels in the normal range for the target gender. Feminizing hormones therapy can make gender dysphoria less severe, reduce psychological and emotional stress. And I understand that. I get it. And so for women who are taking estrogen therapy, the estradiol cypionate and estradiol valerate from forms of estrogen injections are used to treat hot flashes, sudden strong feelings of heat and sweating, and or vaginal dryness, itching and burning in women who are experiencing menopause, change of life, the end of monthly menstrual periods. So when you are in menopause and you can't really now bear a baby, that is an indicator that eventually you're next. But oh yeah, we're supposed to be, yeah, well. Okay, so when you're taking estrogen, it's supposed to help with that, but they have their own, side effects when you're taking hormone replacement therapy. And so what happens if women get estrogen shots? Estrogen injections tend to cause very high and fluctuating estrogen levels, which can cause mood swings, weight gain, hot flashes, anxiety, or migraines. Additionally, little is known about the effects of these high levels over long term. So it just all depends on where you are in the hormone levels. You can overdo it and underdo it either way. Your body is trying to survive the lack of estrogen or being over estrogenized. All right, this is where I got my revelation today. Say, hey, Western civilization, because I'm not trying to focus on China, North Korea, or, Iran, okay? But then I realized, I just opened myself up to it. Awesome stuff. So, hey, Western civilization, using the term worshiping false prophets implies that you worship a prophet, and who's to say he isn't false, right? That's the programming, which keeps you locked into worshiping somebody, and in the meantime, you are self-imploding, and then you are realizing the New World Order's intentions, okay? So the prophets a long time ago, and I say even FITS, are no different than the self-proclaimed prophets of today. It's just a matter of what they're teaching. If you don't like change, you won't like anyone new. And so, yeah, if Iran likes Muhammad for Islam, great. Again, like I said, he taught some great stuff, I'm sure, and their society is well put together, organized. They don't have all the craziness that we have. That works for them, okay? All right, and so if you don't like change or you won't like anyone new. And so if we're saying, okay, now the West, we're going to get away from Christianity, away from, Judaism and Jesus Christ and all that stuff. And now we want a new world order where it's all coexisting and we all respect each other and we all, have tolerance, which isn't bad. It's not like taking away your religion, but we're not going to now, we're going to do something different. We're going to coexist, which isn't bad. And those that want to stay segregated and demonizing someone, they're going to develop a religion against that. Okay? And so If you don't like change, you won't like anyone new. And so then you'll call them a false prophet. And so that's why Klaus Schwab is getting so much flack. I mean, that's why Bill Gates gets so much flack. People don't want to change. They don't want to change the way they do things as far as food. Now, as far as all the therapies, I can understand that side of it, but people want all those shortcuts. And people that don't want those specific shortcuts still take other shortcuts. So then, you can't really take them seriously because they're taking antibiotics in a different form, a non-injectable form. So they go see their holistic professional that does the same thing that the injectable forms do. So when you worship someone or hate somebody else, you are guaranteed to be heavily manipulated. So all the above in politics, religion, science, and yes, this is directed at Western civilization for now. Don't get me wrong. There's amazing innovation out of Western civilization, but we also have elements of people who absolutely need to worship something and need authority at the time because they don't trust themselves. That they can absolve themselves and redirect and become amazing, balanced, productive people who have the ability to change. So if you are anti-government and anti-New World Order, then you will realize that some version of the current politics, religion, and science is just another smoke and mirrors of profiteering, and your profit can be just as bad as the one you think is part of the enemy. And we have many prophets of gods and demigods selling you everything under the sun, even medical protocols, and people worship them. Update, I just had a thought. There are no bad prophets, just teachings of the time that some people want to stay with, and anyone new who has something different to say is now deemed the enemy. People don't like change. Anyone that introduces change happens to be in high levels of government will be demonized. The world is an amazing place. Oh my gosh. So I set myself free from demonizing anything in religion because it's about advancing and evolving. Those who are against advancing and evolving will develop a religion against evolution. That's called creationism. So now I can include all religions of the world and give room for those who want to stay traditional. Hey, if you want to be traditional, fine. Just don't try to convert me. All right? And so if Iran, Iraq, or other places in the world want to stay traditional and keep with the teachings of the time of their prophet 6,000 years ago, absolutely, of course. I totally understand. When you look at the West and all of our chaos, I don't blame them with staying with traditions. The West is about evolution, and we will have a war between the old world and the new world. And that is what's going on right now. And so you can't get mad at Saudi Arabia, Iran, or any of the Muslim countries because they have a cohesive existence. And if some Westerner goes in there and upsets the homeostasis and upsets the rules, well, you didn't respect. Look what happened to Brittany Griner and going into Russia, bringing in cannabis. We have not learned tolerance or understanding other cultures and respecting them. Okay? I had to question. You think that me questioning Christianity, Judaism, all this other stuff is like disrespecting? No, I'm just exploring, man. I'm trying to figure out some stuff. I'm trying to figure out how people think and why they think this way and why we have these wars. But really, it's about tolerance and understanding that culture, understanding that religious background, but then realizing that some people need to evolve. Okay, so you have evolution over here and you have tradition over here. Well, okay, but what I have an issue with is people capitalizing on old traditions, people capitalizing and exploiting their friends and family, using their religion as a tool to sell antibiotics. But that's, again, a tool of the New World Order for those that can't seem to evolve. Remember, we're in a great reset, evolution. Those that choose not to evolve will not fucking survive. That's across the board. That's the point of where I'm coming from. If you cannot evolve, you will not survive. That's it. Bye.